Look at any major port in the world. You will see them. Black and white containers stacked in rows, the letters MSC painted on the side. They are on the ships backing up outside Los Angeles. They are on the cranes in Rotterdam. They are on the trucks moving through every major logistics hub on 5 continents. 1 in 5 containers currently moving on the world's oceans belongs to this company. MSC, the Mediterranean Shipping Company, is the largest container shipping line in the world. It operates approximately 1,000 vessels. It calls at 520 ports across 155 countries. It moves around 30 million containers per year. Industry estimates put its annual revenue at over $50 billion. It has never published a financial statement. The company has no public shareholders, no listed bonds, no analyst calls, no annual report filed anywhere in the world that the public can read. Its owners have almost never given interviews. The family that controls 1/5 of global container capacity runs the company the way a private household manages its affairs, internally, quietly, and without obligation to tell you anything. In the last quarter of 2025, the founder transferred ownership of the entire company to his 2 children. Most people who have spent their lives buying goods that traveled inside MSC containers have never heard the family name. Gianluigi Aponte was born in 1940 near Sorrento, on the Bay of Naples. His family had been connected to the sea for generations. The family's corporate website traces seafaring routes back to 1675. His father had operated a shipping business before dying when Gianluigi was 5. He trained as a ship's captain and worked the ferry routes between Naples and the island resorts of Capri and Ischia. On one of those routes, he met Raffaella Diamant, the daughter of a Swiss banker. They married and moved to Geneva. In 1970, a French businessman named Dominique Donat lent Aponte $200,000. With that money, Aponte bought an old German cargo ship called the Patricia. He registered the company in Geneva. He found a route nobody else was serving well, from Western Europe down to East Africa, and he started sailing it. The company he built from that single ship and that single loan is now the most powerful entity in the container shipping industry. The journey between those 2 points is one of the most significant business stories of the 20th and 21st centuries that almost nobody has told, largely because the people at the center of it declined to participate. MSC's growth strategy over 5 decades contained one insight that its competitors kept underestimating. The shipping industry moves in violent cycles. When rates are high, carriers order ships. When those ships arrive, rates collapse. Carriers that borrowed heavily to expand during the boom find themselves servicing debt during the bust, and sometimes fail. Aponte's approach was different. During downturns, when overleveraged competitors were selling ships at distressed prices, MSC bought. During booms, when everyone else was collecting profits, MSC kept buying. The fleet grew continuously, regardless of market conditions, because the strategy was accumulation over decades, not optimization of any single year. MSC also avoided the structure that traps most public companies. Without shareholders demanding quarterly earnings growth, and without bond investors requiring public financial disclosure, the company could absorb losses in bad years, decline to grow in ways that looked good on paper but created long-term problems, and make investments with 10-year payback timelines without explaining them to anyone. The private structure was not just a preference, it was a competitive advantage. By the late 1980s, Aponte bought the cruise fleet of an Italian shipping giant named Achille Lauro. That acquisition became MSC Cruises, now one of the largest cruise lines in the world. His wife Raffaella runs the cruise business. His son Diego, who joined the company and eventually became its president, built the Terminal Investment Division. Terminal Investment Limited, known as TIL, is now one of the largest port terminal operators on Earth, with stakes in terminals across Europe, Asia, the Americas, and Africa. The moment MSC became the undeniable force in container shipping came in January 2023. For decades, Maersk had held the position of world's largest container carrier. Maersk was the benchmark, the most analyzed, the most discussed company in the industry. In January 2023, MSC surpassed it in total fleet capacity. MSC became number 1. It did so without a press release marking the occasion, without a CEO making a statement about the milestone. The company that had just become the largest in its industry said nothing. The divergence in strategy between the two companies had been building for years. Maersk, under pressure from public investors who wanted to see a future beyond volatile shipping rates, pivoted toward logistics. It bought warehouses, freight forwarders, software companies, and airlines. It was trying to transform from a shipping company into a supply chain manager. MSC had no such pressure. With no public investors to explain itself to, it simply kept buying ships. When the two companies ended their 2M alliance in January 2025, after a decade of sharing vessel space, MSC was large enough to sail every route it needed on its own. Maersk needed a new partner and found one in Hapag-Lloyd. MSC needed nothing. It dissolved the alliance and continued alone. In 2022, the shipping industry experienced the most profitable year in its history. Pandemic demand, port congestion, and container shortages pushed rates to levels the industry had never seen. According to figures that leaked to Swiss media, MSC generated revenue of over 86 billion euros that year, and profit of approximately 36 billion euros. Those numbers, if accurate, would make 2022 MSC's profit roughly equivalent to the annual GDP of a mid-sized European country. MSC has never confirmed or denied any of these figures. The company released no statement. No executives discussed the numbers publicly. The wealth simply accumulated inside a private structure in Geneva and was never required to be explained. In the final quarter of 2025, Gianluigi Aponte, now 85 years old, transferred ownership of the company to his son Diego and his daughter Alexa. The announcement in April 2026 was a single brief statement. Diego is group president. Alexa is chief financial officer. Gianluigi remains executive chairman. A spokesman for the company declined to provide any elaboration beyond the statement. One of the most consequential ownership transfers in modern business history was announced in 2 short paragraphs. What MSC controls today extends beyond ships. TIL operates port terminals on every major trade route. MSC Cruises sails under its own brand and operates a private island in the Bahamas. The group owns cargo planes, ferry lines, and substantial Swiss real estate. Diego Aponte, in November 2025, helped broker a meeting between Swiss business leaders and the Trump administration that contributed to a preliminary trade deal between the US and Switzerland. The family company had grown large enough that its president was sitting in rooms where countries negotiate. MSC has also moved into oil tankers. The timing proved fortunate. When the Strait of Hormuz was disrupted by conflict in the region, tanker rates spiked sharply. A company that had acquired a fleet of oil tankers in the preceding years found itself with an asset class generating outsized returns exactly when it was needed. The Aponte family has spent 50 years building something without telling anyone how they built it. No biography, no documentary, no authorized history. Gianluigi Aponte is one of the wealthiest individuals in Europe by any credible estimate. Yet there are almost no photographs of him in circulation, almost no recorded statements, and almost no first-person accounts of his management or his thinking. The company he built carries a fifth of global container trade. It employs 200,000 people. It touches almost every product in the global economy at some point in its journey. And it operates entirely on the principle that none of this requires public explanation. The next time you order something online, look at the box when it arrives. There is a reasonable probability that at some point in its journey, it was inside an MSC container. A family in Geneva whose name you did not know this morning took a percentage of the cost of moving it. They have been doing that quietly for 50 years. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.